Well, hello everybody, and welcome to my show. My name is Jason DaCosta, and this is Consistent Preterism. This isn't myth vision. This isn't creating Christ by the Romans. This is consistent preterism. And I've been missing in action for a while, and I apologize for that. But I can also say that I don't know how frequently I'm going to be able to do these things heading forward, at least for a little while. Life has really picked up. Work has picked up. A lot of different things going on at work. And obviously, if you followed me, you know that this is kind of like my crunch season, my busy season, April, May, June. So it's super, super jam-packed with travel and meetings and work responsibilities and follow-up and phone calls and yada, yada, yada. So it's a lot and pretty hectic. So I apologize for not pushing forth new content. I just don't have the time. And I could do it in my car on the way to certain places, but I'm just not in the zone. You know what I mean? Like when you're in the zone, you're in the zone, not the auto zone, just the zone. So when you're in the zone, you can kind of pump them out when you're thinking about it, when your mind's in the game, when you're thinking about different things and, flipping things around in your head, you can kind of rattle off like a robot. But unfortunately, when you're tied up in a bunch of different unrelated things, your head's not in it. So I just haven't been able to even think about it very much. So I apologize for that, but I will hopefully return on a cloud and come in my kingdom, and I will return with audios at some point. Who knows when? In other news, I did get engaged recently, a few days ago, out in Utah. Took my girl out there, surprised her with a few of our friends, a couple couples that kind of went out there and met us out there. I did it in Park City, really, really pulled it off nicely. So she was totally surprised, and it was a nice time. So, marriage is important to her. Obviously, it's kind of important to me, maybe not as much, but I definitely love her, and, hopefully, we have a nice long life together and have a little child. That would be the goal. So, and no, I don't have any kids yet. So hopefully that would be in the woodwork coming up. Anyways, so that's that. Let's see what else I got for you. I did hear through many, many little grapevines. I have many little birdies, like the guy from Game of Thrones, that there's some wackadoodle shit going on Facebook in these groups. Like, people are pushing these stupid views, like creating Christ. And when I heard that, I was a couple weeks back, I was riding my bike to and from work, just to try to get some exercise in the midst of this crazy schedule of mine. So I did have a few days where I rode, and I actually turned on and listened to this Israel-only interview that these Creating Christ guys did. It's Derek Lambert, James Valiant, and some old guy who yells like my grandfather when he used to get pissed on the couch when we played too loud in the other room. I don't really know his name, maybe Luther or something. I don't know. Anyways, there was three of them, and they were yapping and talking about Israel only and comparing it to this Creating Christ view, which I just thought was just ridiculously gross. It was just bad. And so what I decided to do is just do sort of a critique on it. And I haven't done it yet, so I need to actually be thinking about it. Just riding my bicycle, listening to these things rattle off and all these blunder after blunder after blunder. I just realized that it's very worthy of a critique to show people, if there's people out there who are being fooled into believing that this is actually a possibility. I would put forth a critique, not the whole thing, because I think this whole thing was like 4 hours long between parts 1 and 2. But maybe like for the first hour of what Valiant says, I'll go ahead and critique, because a lot of the meat of what it's about is right there in the beginning. And I'll kind of give my thoughts and explain to you why this is absolutely impossible to be true. It just cannot work. And yes, folks, you know my style. I come in hot right off the handle, and I cut out the arguments right at the root, right at the ankles. And that's exactly what I'm going to do to Creating Christ. And you're going to see that this argument just falls flat on its face. It just makes no sense. It's illogical. It doesn't have any backing. And most importantly, that's not what the Bible is saying. Okay, what they're claiming is not what the Bible is saying. And it's funny because in the interview, Lambert, who probably knows a little bit about IO, although based upon his comments, it doesn't seem like he knows enough. But he kept saying, well, the IO guys would say that, like, he kept coming back and telling Valiant that the IO guys do have answers for this stuff, but yet he wouldn't push Valiant on those. He'd kind of like mention it very, timidly and then kind of back off and let Valiant think that he was making good points. And I get it. If you have an agenda, if you don't like the IO guys, if you don't like the IO view and it's not what you created or it's not anything that you had a hand in, what you're going to do is you're going to look for things that differ, and you're going to try to push those things. And I've known Lambert for a while. He's a good kid. We actually talked on the phone many years ago. Not many years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago. But I could tell that he's got that hyper kind of attitude where he just kind of latches onto something and just bounces all around. And he's done that. He's went from a Calvinist who taught on election in his basement on YouTube or wherever he was to probably other things, then on to full preterism, then on to astrology, then on to mythology, now on to creating Christology, all this crap. And it's common, right, to bounce from one thing to the next. What's the latest and greatest? Me, rather, I like to make sure that what I'm bouncing to actually works and actually makes sense and doesn't clash with what the Bible is actually saying. So yes, the Bible is 100% Israel only. There is no way around that. That is an ironclad chokehold. Okay, and somebody said to me, well, how can you say that the Bible might be all bullshit and then claim that it's Israel only? Those two things don't work. And I just kind of scratched my head like, what planet am I living on where people can't figure this stuff out? Of course those two things work. Okay, here's the deal. Whether or not the Bible is actual factual history or not, okay, whether it's factual history and every single thing in it that it speaks of took place, including the final rapture when the Savior came for them and rode off into the sunset up into this new Jerusalem that they were waiting for, whether or not that's factual history or whether or not it's complete bullshit and somebody who is very fond of that idea just wrote a tale about Israel's history and sort of put in a bunch of grandiose nonsense into that story, does not matter. The story is still Israel only. Okay, let me repeat that. Whether it's complete fact and everything happened, or whether it's made up, fabricated bullshit, it is still 100% Israel only. Okay, and I have proved that up, down, left, and right. And this is where these guys will fall short every single time, is when they lock horns with me on what the Bible actually states. All right, and that's why guys like Preston and Bell and the rest of the gang ran for the hills when they realized what it was that I was presenting, because it's irrefutable. It's ironclad. All right. And while Valiant may be a good historian, he just can't hang when it comes to what the New Testament actually says. So what I'm going to do is over the next few weeks, at some point, I hope, in the midst of this chaos, this chaotic life of mine, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do my typical critique where I let his stuff play and I offer up some commentary. And that'll begin right at his very weak first point, where he refers to John 3:16, for God so loved the world, and he says that has to be everybody because it says whosoever. All right, so he forgets and ignores the big picture context, and he rushes headlong into a universal view, and it's just really, really bad. So I hope to do that. I will share that at some time in the near future, so stay tuned for that. And if you're one of those people out there who are discouraged by what's going on in these Facebook groups with all this mythology and all this, all these conspiracy theories and astrotheology and, the sun is pointing this way and that's why Jesus was invented, and there's 12 zodiac signs, so that means the 12 tribes of Israel have to be related. If you're somebody who gets a little bit caught up in that and gets kind of discouraged by that, I would say just go with the flow, man. Don't let it get you down. Don't put too much stock into it. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're Israel only, okay, that none of it matters anyway. And that's my position, is that this story is absolutely Israel only, and I can prove that up, down, left, right, no problem. So why even let it bother you what people think, right? I mean, to me, it seems more like this narrative is, like I said, just basically either it's true fact or it's derived and created by someone who was very fond of this idea of the lost tribes and the lost sheep all coming back from wherever they were, and the promise to Abraham being fulfilled in the end, and all Israel saved, and all that stuff. So it really doesn't have anything to do with us, so why let it get you down? Just ignore it, or if you want to battle and debate, then go for it. But I wouldn't ruin friendships over it, and I wouldn't, because at the end of the day, we're all still in agreement that the Bible story as a whole, the redemptive narrative, doesn't have anything to do with us today. So if we can unite on those things and then work out our differences, then great. But I would not get too caught up in, these guys out there like Flat Earther Jeff Bricks, who claims that I believe in talking donkeys, right? Let him say that, right? This guy believes in a flat earth. Who knows what else this guy believes in? But let them say what they're going to say, and you do what you got to do. That's really all life is about, isn't it? So, yeah, I just wanted to check in, say hi with a little quick update, let you guys know that I did not fall off the face of the flat earth. And no, I'm not a flat earther, but, and I will be back, sometime soon. And I hope that my next one will be that critique of the premise of creating Christ, which I will show to be absolutely illogical, and asinine and out of the realm of possibility. But hey, it's a nice conspiracy theory and people buy into it, and he's probably sold a few books. But anyway, haven't we all? Folks, I hope you all have a wonderful day today, and I will be back. I forgot how this goes, but I'll give it a try. Another place, another time, another day, and another rhyme. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.